everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. And today we are doing a review of a Slappyworld book called My Friend Slappy. So, of course, this will have Slappy in the book. But it does vary. It is a little different from the usual book of when Slappy is in it, anyway. And I think it's part 12, and the main character is it Barton? Barton Scuggs or something, and then these
Barton Fink.
These and then these bullies call him Slugs.
Yeah.
And there's no younger sibling. It's just him, and I think he's 12, as usual. And then his father owns a saltwater taffy factory, and they are in New Jersey. And I guess, and I don't know, I didn't look this up, but maybe saltwater taffy was invented in New Jersey. And they kind of did just a little tiny bit of history. They fit that in the story about the origin of saltwater taffy. Why is it called saltwater taffy? And then, of course, you have the thing with Slappy being introduced into the story. But it was unusual.
Slappy.
Because usually when they get him in and they find that little piece of paper, because his dad had gotten it for him, because these bullies keep bugging him, and he's trying to make him feel better, and he knows he does collect puppets, but I think everything he has are like marionettes.
Yeah.
Which are things they're the puppets that you control by strings up above their heads and pieces of wood. And anyway, there's always this thing where he has these instructions in his pocket, but this time, instead of just immediately reading the words in the pocket, he doesn't do anything. He's so depressed about his life and dealing with these stupid bullies that he just puts the dummy away and keeps the instructions, if you want to call them that, in his pocket. And it's also significant, too, that there are two pieces of paper in the pocket. One says, my name is Slappy, and I want to be your friend.
Yeah, it's never been like that before. It's like a thing that he just invented for Slappy all of a sudden for plot convenience.
The other one is the words, the very famous words that bring him to life.
Crew Marie Madonna shit fuck. Okay, I'm going to talk about the story now.
Okay.
This book was pretty good. It's pretty good.
I liked it. I thought it was a good diversion.
It's just...
And it was a little different.
It's another Slappy book. I'm sick of Slappy. I much more enjoyed reading... what was the last shit book we read? What was that called?
Maniac. Something about Dr. Maniac.
Oh, no. Oh, God. Oh, never mind. Ew. The superhero one. Never mind. I'm sick of Slappy. I just want to read original stories now, or stories that don't have to do with Slappy. I'm sick of, like, the same old stuff happening, even if you have different, like, little twists in Slappy's story, like in this case. The reason why it's called My Friend Slappy is because the main character, he has these terrible bullies to deal with, and he has Slappy deal with them for him. And, it's kind of like a Leave It to Beaver episode where Eddie Haskell does something good for Beaver or something. It's like, it's a pretty good episode, it's a pretty good book, but it's just like, because, like, in comparison to the best Slappy books, I would say, like, this is, like, in the middle. of like all like if you rank them, which we are going to rank them because we rank everything on this channel. This book is very in the middle, and you know, in talking about like instances where Slappy has gotten back at bad people or bullies, I really much preferred that part in Slappy Birthday to You where he gets back at those boys, those two horrible cousins. You know, I thought that was done a lot better. I felt like that was like the better version of this in a way, because like in this book, he doesn't even, the main character, he does, another thing that he does that's really weird is that he doesn't turn on Slappy until like the very end of the book. Like most of the book, he's like, he really likes Slappy, he loves him, and it's like, it's kind of funny, but like we already kind of read this story a little bit with that Slappy Beware. And I realized that this came before Slappy Beware, but we read Slappy Beware before this. And in that one, it was the same type of thing where, like, Slappy could not scare him or his dad, you know, the boy in that book. And it's the same thing in this book. I mean, he can scare him a little bit, but, like, not very much. So, Safi, what else do you have to say about this book?
Well, the thing about it, too, that's different is this boy's real smart. And so he realizes...
He's a smarty pants.
And he doesn't... he is right all the way into the fact that Slappy is alive. Because he feels like... And he does make an error in that. You can't control Slappy. Once Slappy gets going and does his negativity things, he goes all out. But still, he's smart enough to almost actually manipulate Slappy in certain ways. And he wants to use him to get back at these bullies, because in the book, first of all, one thing that the bullies did was they went to the father's factory. It has a lot of school tours.
And you know what they did? They pulled an Augustus Gloop on fucking Barton Fink. they threw him in the chocolate taffy.
Into a vat.
Oh!
But a problem with this is it's taffy. And it's very sticky, and it gets hard. And he could have drowned. He could have broken something. But another bad thing is he has a very bad chocolate allergy. And this was the vat of chocolate taffy. So they didn't even bring that up until after it was said and done.
So these bullies are not just bullies. They are thugs.
They are.
And so, you know, there was a point later on in the book where the main Barton Fink... There was a part later on in the book where, well, it was Slappy who did it, but Slappy picked up one of the bullies and he threw him in a tree and he tortured him with shit, and it was really funny. But, like, the police come over. And
with his father.
With the bully and everything, acting like his dad did it. Or he did it, he was responsible for it. And I was like, you know, where were the police when he was thrown into a chocolate taffy vat? Like, why weren't the police involved with that? Because those little thugs should have gone to prison. Should have
gone to juvie.
Well, they should have been put in prison instead, because in the Goosebumps world, do whatever the fuck we want.
Yes, but, another thing that they did was...
No. They should have been sent to the perfect school.
Oh.
That would have been a good tie-in. At the end of the book, Slappy does the ultimate revenge on these bullies. He fucks them up, and then he sends them to the perfect school. Boom! Tie-in! Goosebumps Easter egg! Suck on that, R.L. Stine!
He was just so fed up with them that he ran at them and and knocked him over, and they were shocked because he'd never done anything like that. But when he did that, the teacher, this was after school.
I'd like to run these fucking thugs over, too.
The teacher saw him, and they had to take him to the principal's office, and he got kicked out of school for a week.
Yeah.
Which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Considering everything. I mean, the bat incident with him getting put in the and not put, but knocked off of a platform over the vat. And even with that, they didn't get into trouble. And so for him to get suspended for a week, that's when he decided he's going to use Slappy and he's going to get back at him. And I think what happened is he has a friend who's a girl, and she is the one who discovered the words, right? Didn't she say the words?
I literally can't remember because I read this book like a day and a fucking week ago.
No, you didn't. Anyway.
It feels like a week ago.
She pulled out the words, and she saw these pieces of paper, and she said, "These are weird foreign words." And then when she said the words, he could feel...
Yeah, hey. We need to bring up, too, the fact that these fucking pussy-ass sensitivity reader fucktards, they made R.L. Simp take slave out of these Slappy books, and so he doesn't want kids to be his slaves. He wants them to be his servants, because we all know that no slave in the slavery history was ever called a servant. And then also the fact that...
servants.
Yeah, they were called servants. That's the joke, Safi.
I know, but there were indentured servants. That's
the joke, Safi. And so fucking saying servant instead of slave is the dumbest fucking shit I've ever heard. And so another thing to mention is the fact that these pussy-ass sensitivity readers, they completely skipped over, like, the fact that this girl acts all xenophobic by saying, "What are these weird foreign words?" Like, is that something that... Isn't that something that these pussy-ass sensitivity readers would be offended by? Isn't that something, Safi?
No, Marco, don't do that.
It's true.
Okay, don't do that.
It's like ching chong bing bong. Like, that's the same type of thing. Like, why weren't the sensitivity readers concerned about that? Did they just skip over that part because they're fucking fucks?
Okay, Marco.
Come on, Safi. Let's review the book.
Okay, we'll do it.
You do it. I already reviewed it.
Anyway,
it's just
he
okay.
Makes this elaborate plan about how to get back at these boys. And so, like Marco said, that one, he sent him flying up to a tree after he threw him he would do these magic words, and he would lift up his arms, and that would control whatever he was trying to control. So it controlled this kid and made him go round and around and around and around in the sky, and then threw him up in the tree. And then they came over to his house, and the cop, he said, "Okay, I want to look at the dummy." And so he gets, and he says to Slappy, "Remember, we're friends now, and you're not going to do or say anything." And he did. He did follow. That's what I said. He was, in this story, he was able to manipulate him somewhat.
Well, yeah, it's funny because it kind of backfires to where Slappy, he wants to be his only friend. He's his best friend. And it's like, aw.
Well, he doesn't want him to be friends with this girl, too.
Yeah.
And she is his best
So
friend.
Slappy is basically gay in this book. So, Safi, a good question is, and I think that this is a great question to talk about in this review. A good question is, what would you want to do to those two little thugs? Because I think what I would want to do is I'd like to strap them down forcibly, and then get that contraption from A Clockwork Orange, the thing that holds your eyeballs open, the thing that actually Malcolm McDowell, he got his fucking eye cut, sliced with the contraption, because they were actually doing that. And it's like, see, that's back when they made good movies, because they were willing to do stuff like that. They wouldn't do that nowadays. It'd be all computer generated and shit. And so, but I would put that on these two boys. And then, you know what I would do? I would put on the 2023 Goosebumps show on repeat. I mean, if that isn't the worst torture idea ever, then I don't know what is.
Well, what was really bad too is of these two boys, and I've read this. This has happened. This has even happened in adult things that I've read, where one of the kids, what used to be his good friend, and they like grew up together. They did everything, but then this other kid came along, and he turned him against him. Kind of. I mean, wouldn't blame it all on that kid. I would think if he wants to be turned against
Turned
him.
what? Turned on?
If he wants to get turned against him, I'm sure he had enough self-control that he could have not been against him and remained his friend or just didn't participate in this bullying stuff.
I think that this was a huge missed opportunity for R.L. Stine to do a Slappy trilogy, because it would be cool to see this kid continue to be friends with Slappy and for them to go on adventures together. Like, instead of the cliche ending where it's like, okay, let's get rid of Slappy now because it's the end of the book. It's like, no, like, why don't you have them continuing to be friends, like, at the end? Like, that would have been a twist, wouldn't it? Like, maybe they could put on a show because the other friend was really concerned, so they could put on a show to make it look like he deactivated Slappy, and then it's like, oh, the twist is that they didn't, because he's still Slappy's friend, and they're going to go on adventures together and fuck people up. Wouldn't that be cool? That'd be a lot better than the ending of this book. I mean, the twist to this book was so bad, I didn't even notice it. Like, it just ran over me. It just ran over me. Like, I was like, because I had to look it up. I had to look it up on Wikipedia because I didn't even remember it. It was so bad, the twist to this book. Like, it makes no sense at all, too. A dog A dog talks.
I didn't get that.
It says right here on...
I know, I heard it. I know.
Yeah.
I forgot all about that because it made absolutely no sense to me.
Hey, Barton Fink, do you want to be my friend? And he says he isn't sure he just imagined it or not. It's like, what the fuck is up with that?
Because all through the book, he uses his imagination and he thinks of some kind of scenario. I know somebody who does this.
Who?
They think of, you know who. They think of a scenario of something happening, and they think whatever they're going to do the next day or that evening or that day, it's going to be just like the scenario. That's a big mistake because you can't control everything. And so anything you think of, it isn't going to be exactly like the scenario. So, all throughout the book, before he decides to do something about the bullies, what should it be? What should he do about Slappy? What should he do about his friend because he's scared his friend? You know, the whole thing. He would think of some kind of scenario about something that happened, or that he thought that happened, but it didn't. Or, you know, he did it over and over again. And so, at the end, this dog, after he got rid of Slappy by just saying the magic words again, they go outside and there's this bad dog that lives next door, and it's bad because it's very vicious and they have it on a chain, and everybody in the neighborhood is afraid of it. And so the dog comes roaring up to them, and but it's on the chain, but then it says what Marco said.
And see, this is how you guys
with
know.
Slappy's voice, and that doesn't make any sense.
This is how you guys know that R.L. Stine, R.L. Simp, he is starting to fade away. Because that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't fit. Sense. It doesn't fit at all. And it's another thing where it's like, oh, the story ended perfecly. Yeah. And then we have to have this stupid twist at the end for no reason except for it has to have a twist.
Yeah, he said those magic words, and Slappy went silent.
Which I would also like to add, too, the fact that at the end of Welcome to Dead House, which was the first Goosebumps book, the twist was that the family was dead the whole time. You know, that was the twist in the book, you know, not the episode where the dog was dead and then the family was still alive. But so in the book, the twist had to do with the story. It had to do with, like, oh shit, this whole family, they died at the beginning of the book. This is actually really dark. You know, they didn't even escape this town. It's really bad, dark ending. But in this book, you have this twist, and it's basically not connected to the story at all. And so really, R.L. Simp, he's doing a disservice to the idea of doing twists because it doesn't have to do with the story. And I'd like to point out, too, the fact that my twist had to do with the story, where he would put on a show and pretend like he deactivated him, and then the twist would be that he's actually not deactivated him, and he's actually still friends with Slappy. That would have connected to the story. But this whole twist, it's like the talking dog shit. It's like, oh, we've never seen that before. Like,
And it doesn't make sense, though. Well, why would that happen?
Stupid.
It wouldn't have happened.
No.
There is no Slappy book on this planet that we've read. I'm not just talking about the Slappy World. I'm talking about the whole Living Dummy series.
The only way that it can make sense, though, is that, okay, here's a scenario where it can make sense. And now this is going to be really, really weird.
This is something Marco's making up.
No, well, I'm thinking this is the only way that you can logically make it make sense. So, Slappy, in some instances, he is a ghost that's inside of Slappy. So, now Slappy has died at the end of this book. He has been deactivated, so he has died. So, years later, or however many years it takes in the reincarnation cycle, Barton Fink has now grown up. He's going to be a writer. He's going to write shitty Goosebumps books and get paid cash. And he's walking down the street, and he sees a little dog walking along, and the dog is Slappy reincarnated as a dog. And Slappy remembers him and says, hey, don't you want to be my friend anymore? That's the only way you can make that make sense. Reincarnation is a dog. Because why would Slappy want to possess a dog? Like, he would never do that, ever. That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard.
There's no way he can possess anything.
Yeah, he can.
He's been deactivated.
Well, yeah, that's also...
The only way he can be activated is if they say this magic words. If the magic words are gone, if they disappeared, how can you activate him?
You guys should see Safi's face. She has a really angry face right now. It's really funny.
I just can't believe this. I really wish they just would have... Here we go again.
Yeah.
We just did that. We just went through this in something else. Where they add something at the end. They tack it on. Like,
oh, the American Horror story.
Okay, so they tack on this ending.
The twist.
That is stupid. It makes no... But especially with this.
No.
This is something... We have seen this over and over and over again. I mean,
needless twists.
Slappy, and where he's put to sleep, he doesn't... and the only... I'm trying to think... I think when they smashed his in the one of the Living Dummy books, I think it's the one where they had all the puppets in the attic or something. The father was...
Well, that would be the episode because you haven't read that book yet, and I haven't read that book yet.
No, I haven't read the book, but
in the episode,
his head, didn't they throw him out the window?
No,
he smashed outside on the pavement. And his green, you could see the green spirit coming out of him. And it went into, what did it go into? Something else.
No, what happened was, at the end of Night of the Living Dummy 3, Slappy is hanging on the rooftop with Rocky, the dummy.
Right.
And
there's a storm.
And the lightning strikes Slappy as he says that he's invincible, and the lightning blows him to pieces. But then at the end of that episode, the twist is that the cousin Zane has been somehow possessed by Slappy, or he's got something weird going on because his head twists around
all the way, like in what is it?
And then also in Bride of the Living Dummy, at the end of that one,
Exorcist.
after they defeat Slappy at the end, well, actually, yeah, they put him on the saw. Harrison, the brother, he is possessed by Slappy, and you know that because it is Slappy's voice, and he says Harrison doesn't live here anymore, and his eyes are Slappy's eyes. So.
But see,
It makes sense, though.
Yeah, it's completely different circumstances.
He wasn't deactivated in either of those.
No,
so it would make sense that he would be able to get out of the Slappy body and then possess someone, whereas in this, he is deactivated, so...
What it is his physical being, the wooden exterior, is blown up or messed up somehow to where his spirit escapes. But see, when he's deactivated, there is no spirit. It's dead. It's like a robot that's been shut off. And so there's no way that he could have gotten into the dog. And let's say that just R.L. Stine put that in because all throughout the book, he thought, did that really happen? No, that would never happen. It's just something that, because I have such a really good imagination, I'm a really good writer. That's what he says in the book, that I just thought that up, but it says it isn't real, it didn't happen. Is that just a continuation of those incidents all throughout the book? It isn't necessary.
Even if it is, it doesn't make sense. Like,
it doesn't make
why
sense,
would...
It's not necessary.
Why would he think about that? Because to me, it's very gimmicky, too. The fact that, the book is all about my friend Slappy, and then at the end, the dog says, "Don't you want to be my friend?" It's like, that's very gimmicky.
It just, and the thing with the dog, too, it's a neighbor's dog. The bullies actually didn't the bullies undo the dog's chain?
Yeah, they let him loose on him.
Yeah, these people are really bad and dangerous.
They're really, really bad. They are so bad, they're like the bully in the movie Bully. You remember that guy, that character in real life, that's one of the things that he would do to his friend, is that he would let his dog loose on him and let him attack him. And so they literally, they applied like a real life, like, psychopathic bully character to this character, to these characters, and still it's like at the end of the book, it's like, aren't they poor sad little victims because Slappy took it a little too far? And it's like, no, Slappy didn't take it far enough. Those kids deserve to have their nuts cut off on a slab by Gordon Ramsay. Like, those fucking kids, those bullies, they didn't get enough punishment by Slappy.
Yeah, well, anyway, it all was resolved pretty quickly. But this thing at the end, it's funny because I forgot about it. It's the last thing I read, but I just read it.
Well, I forgot about it
because I thought it was so stupid and it didn't fit. That I just threw it away in my brain.
Well, when I read it,
out of my head.
When I read it, like I didn't what happened, the twist at the end, it didn't even register with me. Like I had to read that on Wiki to actually remember the twist. So that's how bad it is.
Okay, so that's it. The other bully, I just want to say what happens because I thought it was interesting. They went to his house. This is the one who used to be his friend a million years ago before he met this other bully, and they became friends. His mother is part of a book club, and she was having her book club over for lunch, and she had gotten out all her best china and glassware, plus made a meal and a centerpiece. So it was like a big thing, all set up. The whole table was set. And she had told her son, stay out of here. And they came by they meaning this boy Barton and Slappy. But Slappy was in a bag, a laundry bag. He didn't have it. And the mom came home and said, okay, now I told you to stay out of there. So And the boy says, well, I want you guys to leave. I want you to leave. I don't want you here. And he's still being shitty to him, Barton. So he says, okay, I'll leave you if you promise to never bother me again. And he wouldn't make the promise, and he said it about 10 times. Wouldn't do it. So he says, okay. And so he lets Slappy out of the bag, and what does Slappy do? Waves his arm around, and he makes the boy sail over the top of the table with all the china and glass and the centerpiece.
Yeah.
And he sets him down on the table. He can't control it. He's being manipulated by magic. And Slappy makes him dance all over the table, and in doing so, he smashes all the china, all the glass. He makes him, I think he made him stomp down on the centerpiece. And then the guy's going, no, no, no. And his mother's going, what in the hell are you doing? What is wrong with you? And she finally took him off the table, meaning he sailed him off the table onto the floor. And the mother said, what is wrong with you? And he said, I didn't have any control over it. And did he say the evil dummy made me do it or something? And she's like, what is wrong? She thinks he's insane. She thinks he's gone bananas. So, I mean, so anyway, they left. And the boy, Barton, felt bad for the mother, but he still thought the guy, he deserved it. What they did, I mean, in the factory, he could have been killed.
And keep in mind, too, this is just the stuff that you know about.
Yeah.
They probably did a bunch of stuff before this book even happened. So, keep that in mind, too.
It was very ugly, the things that they did to him. It wasn't just little childish pranks.
No.
Like putting gum in your hair or getting paint on your clothes or, just, these were serious, serious things.
Yeah, they should have been arrested. I would give this book a B. I think that it is a middle-of-the-road Slappy book, but it's not bad and it's not great. It's just middle-of-the-road because if I had to choose between reading this and reading other Slappy books, certain ones, I'd probably choose those other ones because, Safi hasn't even mentioned yet because she doesn't like to review. She likes to recap. She hasn't even mentioned her fatal flaw with the book is that she thought it was too long.
I did. I thought the beginning of it, where he won't look at he won't read the words on the paper. That went on quite a long time.
It did.
And because his father used to be a football player. And I say this because we just watched these playoff games over the weekend.
The rigged games.
No, they weren't. Believe me.
The rigged games.
No, they weren't. Anyway, and so he wanted his son to be like him. This guy was very outgoing, and he would get his mind set on something. He'd go straight ahead, and he wanted his son to be more, what would you call it, like him. I'll just say that. And and he wasn't. So, but they went through that over and over again, and it went on for quite a while. And like I said, this is very unusual in the fact that usually when Slappy is introduced, and he wasn't introduced right away, but when he's introduced, they usually read those words immediately, and they didn't do it. He didn't do it. He just was too depressed, and so he put it away.
Well, what I noticed,
I thought that was very different.
What I noticed though was that an hour and a half into the book, I think, is when he activates Slappy.
Yeah, that's a long time.
So then the next hour and a half, he's activated. So it's kind of like the halfway point, because it's basically 3 hours. So
yeah.
But Safi, what'd you give the book?
Well, I'll give it a B too. I thought it was kind of entertaining, but the thing at the end, like it was for me in American Horror Story, it kind of just ruins everything. And why do people do this?
Well, Arl Simp,
story going on, and then they stick something in that
you know that
fit.
for Goosebumps, he has a twist at the end of every book.
Well, I don't care.
Because
Maybe
he
should have said no.
has to.
Well, I don't. I think that's dumb.
And I think that,
It's like what? Getting a surprise in a Cracker Jack box, which they still do have them.
Really?
I think so.
Well, I want one.
I don't know, Mark. Well, they have them. They have bags of them too. I don't know if there's surprise in the bag or not.
Where are you going?
I'm leaving. So
you,
anyway,
you have to end the review.
I will. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Become one of our subscribers, and join the discussion because we appreciate it. We appreciate you, and we like to hear what you're watching. And if you've read this or you're reading a good book series, let us know. Okay? Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.